as simple as possible, layman's terms essentially for the basic trader, maybe a newbie trader, but still super, super successful. And so last week I was like, hey, creating and sticking to your stop losses. And I was like, let's create and stick to your price targets next week. So I already had that plan. And then when I was going to do it this week, I'm like, well, why don't I just use last week's same exact lessons essentially, right? Just instead of doing stop losses, you're going to be doing targets now. So that's what I did. So that way that easy for you. You can go to last week's lessons, which I'll post in a moment, creating and sticking to your stop loss. So it'll be the same entry areas to just show you the stop losses that you should take. Now this week's lesson will be your price targets, the same exact thing. So the same price area, same entry, but instead of looking at stop losses, team, we're going to be looking at your targets that you need to be looking for. So I just thought it'd be easy for you can kind of go back over almost like an overlay. You can put one on top of the other, those old school things, those little charting things you'd have to do for math back in the day. I forgot what those little things were even called, where the projector screen, you'd put the little clear thing, your teacher would draw on it, and he would put one clear one on top of another, and you see what I'm saying, you're kind of layering it. And so this is kind of good layering session. So the same thing, you'll have stop losses, you'll have your entry, and your price target. So this week's lesson, creating and sticking to your price targets. And as I said, just like last week, we're going to have the same thing. So instead, here you have the same entry we talked about last week. This was the very first slide we went over. So your entry, the VWAP, 150 area. You're wanting for a pullback, a quick little pullback to 150, a VWAP bounce. People love trading the VWAP, right? We see multiple bounces throughout the day on the VWAP here. So you get in here at 150. If you look back last week, your stop loss was right around here at this 135-ish area, these lower shadows. So now on the way up, where are your price target's going to be? Number one, if you're going to try to keep that 2-to-1 ratio, needs to be close to the 180 area. Now, I totally understand traders that get in here at the VWAP and on these upper shadows, the first two, this one and this one, into these upper shadows. Totally understand taking a little profit, a little off the table there. Your first real goal, though, is it's this upper shadow to this 180 mark. That's where you need to take half off the plate. If you go ahead and take all off the plate, totally understand. There's your trade. There's your 30-cent bounce. There you go. Home run, baby. Not home run, but boom. In your heart, you felt like you hit a home run. Boom, you got your target. You got your entry right on the dot. You got your target. You're good. Now, if you want to say you want to hold, you want to go half out here and just continue to move up. Just like you move your stop losses up that I talked about last week. So instead of being like at 135, still now it's maybe up to your entry. You're going to move your targets up along the way as well. So your first target's 180, but now you're going to keep moving your price targets up, right? And keep going, keep rocking. So your next one is the $2 area. So as soon as you lock up some here at 180, maybe you hold on to some remaining shares, your stop loss has now moved up. You're not even close to your stop loss, even your entry anymore, which is great. Hold on to those last remaining shares for price target 2, which of course would be the $2 area. Now just get through the rest of these plays. Where would be the next entry area? Well, remember the 190, 185 mark. Most likely 190 is where you're getting filled, somewhere in this area. Again, those quick pullbacks from a high of day touch, high of day push area. Get in for a quick pullback. Anywhere close to 190, you're doing great. As you really never see those areas even close to it again. It's like you don't even get close to testing it. So of course, remember last week, if you go back again, your stop loss was somewhere probably with these upper shadows into the VWAP. Now on the way back up, where is your price target going to be? Well, if it's 190 is your entry area and your stop loss is around 175 at most, probably somewhere in there 15 cents. We want 30 cents on the upside. So 190, so 215 area is really close to that perfect 2-to-1 ratio. 215. So boom, you're in right here at 190. Whammy. Look at this quick bounce. Whammy. You're great. Whammy. Take it all if you want. Take it all. Done. Quick scalp bounce. Now you want for those extended run. Like, hey, this can maybe still push, kind of like we saw eyes today, right? Well, hold on for some of those shares because your stop loss is still here. You still haven't really moved it up. If anything, you've moved it up to your entry, which still has never really been hit. So next price target. We got the 215 area. Where we got next? 230. 235, maybe 220. You want to take a little bit off the plate right here in this upper shadow. But again, stick to these targets. See them ahead of time. Know when you want to get in on this pullback, you're going to have the range up to this 210, maybe 215 area, and stick to your stop loss. Your stop loss, okay, if it's 10-ish to 12 cents away, 15 at most, if it's 10 to 15 cents away, your return needs to be 20 to 30 cents. Entry here at the VWAP 210 area. This is where I find like eyes today, about finally getting in. I got to get in this play. It just keeps moving up without me because I missed this trade right here, this wedge, this triangle squeeze. So what do I want? Off the old highs here, off the old highs. This is my entry now, 210. Beautiful, beautiful bounce. We get it twice really. After we push through, get one bounce here at 210, another bounce at 210. So what's my exit? What's my price target? Well, I'd love to get at least to this upper shadow right here at the 230, 235 mark, if not 240, which we get. Again, then moving up, 260 is your next area. You go back to past chart history, and that's where I'm reading these from. Just like today with eyes, I'm just going back to past chart history, seeing an upper shadow right here, some resistance at 260, seeing some at 240. Know that when I get in here at this 210 mark, that should be you're almost out if you get to 260, and I didn't hold that long. I held through some of these upper shadows, and okay, upper shadows here over 240, that's a good return. Okay, we're really upper shadowing it up. This really could tumble back any time now. I'm going to take my profit. It didn't. Kind of like today with eyes, It was, a great trade that I should have held, could have held a little longer. It went on without me, which is fine. Know that you were right. But know, again, if you did even get close to hanging on to this 260 mark, most of your shares are out here. You're not holding to 3 and, I was in since, very few do you see people get in at, say, this 150 mark, or the VWAP 150 mark. Where was it? The first one right here, the VWAP right here, 150. And they're holding still at 260. Less than 10% team. So don't let that, freak you out. Or, what wasn't holding back? Sorry, the next few plays. But again, VWAP, you're going to have to hold along, right? Volume's starting to die down a little bit. You're not going to get this explosion as we were getting earlier. But again, holding long enough, you still get the return you want. The VWAP, 210-ish area entry, maybe a little closer to 215 at this point. But still in between 210 and 215. You're still wanting the same area. You saw it hit earlier. So now 240 is easily in sight, and you get it each time. Top 260 if you do get to push through. And Andy, yes, real quick, this is Thinkorswim charting. This is from Thinkorswim. This is the charting I always use. This is my favorite charting system. And again, look, here's an old example. I just was talking about it. And actually, I guess I still had it up until late last year and finally took it off. But here's an example where I still have the MACD up every once in a while. Just was talking about that, though. Again, just go back to last week's sticking to your stop loss. Okay, remember the NNDM trade I alerted? Your stop loss was probably right here. It would have been mine around the 110, 107.8 area. Usually see a quick dip down to that area. I know that area can hold up as some support. Now, of course, I had $1 max for those that just want to hold on to the longest bit. But of course, and that's because some of you, traders here in chat do want to hold on a little too long, and that's your max stop loss. Oh, by the way, look, I even had the 50 SMA because I saw a little, but I would always change the 50 because I could just change it from 50 to 20 to 9, or I should say to whatever I wanted, not 9 too often on the SMA, usually on the exponential. But look, there's an example Voltron was talking about earlier, me using the SMA on the intraday and the MACD at the same time. But see, it just was too much for me. I eventually got through this and understood I don't need all that. I can read it really now without it. Again, though, 115, as it's showing you, 115 is your entry, maybe 117. Again, though, 130 resistance, broke, collapsed through 130 before, maybe a quick upper shadow, as you can see right here, we're bouncing off up at the 133-ish area. So when this, and it does get right to that area, upper shadow, whatever you want to call these, close of candles, resistance. Again, so that's 3 times into that 130 area. Then we have bouncing off of the 133-ish area. Look where the upper shadow goes right into. That area, perfectly. That's where you're taking most off the plate. There's your trade. Now, again, moving your stop loss up. Okay, your stop loss maybe after you've taken most off the plate is your entry, so you don't leave that trade, at least essentially even on the rest of those shares, right? And never even hit your entry. So now you're holding, waiting for your next targets up. Your upper shadows usually are a good indication of where to take some profit. Once it moves above what? The 135 area. Take some here. Take some at 145, 150 plus. Along the way. Pay yourself on the way up. Moving your stop loss up as well. Now let's get into halts. We want to know how to where are we taking our profits for halts. My halt strategy. Love it. The 1120. This is where we halted up at. 1120. I'm waiting for a bounce play back at 1120. I get it perfectly. Perfectly. I get it. Of course, it comes down a little bit below it. But look where that candle, where this candle perfectly closes at, or opens up at. That's my bad. Opens up at. Because here's where, and that's the thing. This is a halt down. So I knew perfectly, we should get a bounce here, and we do. But regardless, your entry is 1120. So where is your price target going to be? Well, if your exit, or I should say your stop loss, go back to last week, was 11 maybe to be soft, max right here at this 1080 area, this little wedge shelf, whatever you're going to call it, this little, I shouldn't say wedge, but shelf, sandwich, this little, essentially the close of this candle and the open of this candle, the small little upper shadow and the small little lower shadow, where those two meet, that's got to be your end all stop loss. So essentially 20 cents to 40 cents. So you're essentially looking what? For a 40 to 60 cent return, or 40 to 80 cent return. So you're in at 1120. Whammy. Anything at or above the VWAP is perfect. It's 1160-ish at the time. There's your 40-cent return. You immediately get above 12, which is your price target 2. Old halt down price. Here's where you halt down at. Here's where we came up to 12 out of the gap down. We halted down, we gapped down. Beautiful bounce back up. What do we run into? Right into this old halt down price. We couldn't get above it. Finally, we get a quick little upper shadow. But again, very wicky, very rangy. Again, on top of that, though, not ever seeing your entry price. I should say not ever, but you're not seeing that entry price for a few minutes. You're golden. Beautiful bounce play. So pay yourself while this spikes. Know your price targets and stick to them. Same with the stop loss. Don't go, okay, I'm going to get back to 14. It gets to 13. Like, oh, that's not close enough. And then this happens and it starts collapsing. And eventually we get one more. And as you see, yet another bounce at 1120 perfectly. Take your profit into the VWAP or above. $12 is perfect. But take the profit. Don't let this then eventually do, because it's going to probably collapse over on you. And then, you're crying. You're going, why did I take profit? I was in it even. I got a bad field 1140 or 50. When this rolls to $12, $13 on these upper shadows and slowly climbed even on full candles. Take your profit. Know your areas, where I'm getting them from. VWAP, first area you're going to run into a little bit resistance. As you can see, we held once we went above it. Hold halt down. That's your second price target. So those right there, boom, VWAP, boom. That's where you're reading the old chart history. You're figuring out where the stock can move up to once it collapses below, when it cracks below. Entry, here we go again, 7.9. Your stop loss. Here's your old halt up price. That's your entry. So your stop loss below this little close of this candle in this lower shadow, anywhere in that area, that's your stop loss. So if that's what you're working with, 20 cents, 30 cents, we want to see 40, 60 cents on the return. We immediately see it. The old halt down price. Well, 875, and they're all really close in the same area. But see how we went right up to 875, right up to 875. Then we kind of push into that old halt up area too at the same time. Know those areas. 875, we talk about it all the time, team. It's got to be glued in your head. You know what 875 is, the 875 roll. Above it with good support, but once we cracked and gapped down below, we didn't even come to it. We didn't have a chance to bounce on it because we gapped below and halt down. We know now when we push back to it, it's going to be resistance. Take profit into there. Get filled anywhere close to $7.90, $8, $8.10 you're filled. $8.75 needs to be your golden rule to take some profit off the table. I'd be half out there. Waiting for it to push through 9, 9, 10, then you're scaling out the rest on the way up. Take it how you want it. But again, you're looking at what has happened previously to where you're getting these price targets. Again, entry, 385, close to the VWAP, maybe even 390. Where are you coming up with these price targets? Well, you can see when you run back up to 410, if not 415, where you just collapsed from, anywhere in this area up to 420, and I know I have 425 top, but this area from 410 to 415 to 420 to 425, anywhere in the lower shadow range here, the upper shadows from these, and kind of close of candles, opens of candles. Then we have upper shadows and lower shadow at 420. Then the complete top at pre-market was 425. When the spikes, as it does right back up, as soon as it gets to 410 to 430 corridor, that is your chance to, and you love these bounces, team. We love these bounces. Immediately filled right here at 385 to 390, immediately up 20, 30 cents, if not more at times. Take your profit. You wonder why Deck has killed it this past 2 months? Have you seen him? Is he going, well, I'm still in this from 430 and it's not? No. Or 385 bounce play? No. He would have been in 2, 3, 4, 5,000 shares here, out 3, 4, 5, all pretty much almost all out here. He may have held 1,000 or 2,000 shares, but as soon as he's up that good amount, you see him start locking it in, and you need to do the same. Lock in these gains on the way up. Pay yourself on the way up. See where the resistance is. When we've collapsed and cracked back through, know on the way back up where we're going to find resistance. 415-ish area first, 425, 430 next. And still, this is old. I love these because these are older, and I love seeing these. The ones that have the older, like the one with the MACD still in it. That's awesome to see. We were just talking about that. Talked about this earlier. Someone asked me, what are my strategy's favorite go-to patterns? Here's one of my favorites. And we kind of come in waves, and you'll see a few, and then whammy. It's just U-shape. Watch for the U-shape break of the VWAP, U-shape break of the open, U-shape break of the downtrend. Whatever it is, boy, and they are just fire team. And this was during that time period last June when I my 2 biggest months ever, where I banked 20K. between I think both months was right over, it was like 12K each month, which was great. Paid for some trips. But anyway, and put a lot into savings and of course the other stuff. But anyway, yes, my 2 biggest months, which is nothing really, right over 12K, right? 15K. Crazy. For me though, like, whoa, but that's when I'm going all in. Even for me, I'm like, I'm banking this month. This is going great, right? That's what I want. That's when you're really paying attention. Okay, these U-shaped breakouts are going fire. So we get the U-shaped breakout right here at the 835-ish mark. Where's your entry? You're pulling the trigger. Totally pulling the trigger right at the 835 VWAP mark. Now, like I said earlier, sometimes what? And it did exactly what I said, exactly to the T, what you can wait for. Now, say if you don't want to buy the spike and it comes up and you buy the VWAP bounce, there you go. You don't always have to buy the initial breakout. You can wait for this to spike, as it spiked all the way up to about 920 area and then comes back to the VWAP for another beautiful bounce and then pushes up to a halt up. But to this traditional U-shaped break of the VWAP, you're in at 835, break of the VWAP. So even if you're in at a bad field, 845, that's fine. First area, always seen when we just talked about it, 875 roll. And then on top of the fact, the open this day, as you can see right here, right around 875. And that would, remember alerting this nonstop in chat, watch for a U-shaped break of the VWAP, move up into the open break of 875 and break of the open in 875. This is going to move through 9. And whammy, there you go. 875 roll, you're taking in half your shares most likely, if not more you need to be from this VWAP break. Taking at least half right here. Maybe just a third, but at least a third to a half. Take in some here and then take in quite a bit more when this moves above 9. And we know the super strong resistance is coming here at about 950. But you can see right here in this upper shadow area, that 920, 925-ish area is pretty tough to get over. So lock it up. Lock it up for Uncle Deck, as he used to say all the time. Locks him up for Uncle Deck. 245 entry. Remember alerting this one in chat. 245 entry. So we want an entry off of this upper shadow, upper shadow. I'm looking at old resistance equals new support. Once we move above it, we move to the 275 mark. I know 240 is going to be a great bounce area. Hits 245. I'm in. Whammy, I'm in. So where are we moving up to? Of course, again, kind of, stop losses say, the trend line, which it was last week. That's why I left the trend line in. So your stop loss is a good 20 cents max, 20 cent max stop loss. So you want what? Close to a 40 cent return if you have 15-ish to 20 cent stop losses. This is right here. So if you're in at 245, you want to see what? 285, which you get immediately. That's why my PT number one's 28 area. I'll just say 28 area because that's hard to, maybe you probably didn't get filled right unless you had a limit order set right there. Maybe not got filled completely at 285 for an out, for an exit. But 28 area is perfect as we push straight up to it. Now we're just moving up from there. $3. Break of $3. That's your next area for taking some off the plate. Anywhere into these upper shadows and this spike above 3. So price target 1, 280. As you can see, I can go all the way back here across. And this was a huge area of resistance beforehand. Then we moved above it. So was $3. So was the 3 to 20 to 325 mark. Now, sometimes it is every 25 cents to 20-ish cents, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes like this, 45 is not every 20 or, you got my point. That's a little off. Sometimes it's going to dip below that 2.5 area as it easily did here, close to 2.4 because why? And this is why it bought back up so huge. They're right here, kind of this little upper shadow, the close of this candle, but then we have upper shadow, upper shadow, upper shadow, upper shadow. All this resistance showing, hey, when it comes back down to this 245 area, it's going to be a pretty good bounce play. So again, then you're looking up top where we had trouble before, 2.8. Then we can see that 3, and then it's 320, and you're just taking some off the plate as this moves up. Now on shorts, let's get to the short side around. You know me, loving some trend line cracks. I love a good old trend line crack. Just like I love a good old sandwich, love me a good trend line crack. So your entry here is around the 415 mark. Maybe 410 you get filled. That's fine. You hesitated a little. You got filled at 410. Oh, you're still rather golden, sweet child of mine as you get all the way down to 390 in about a candle or two because I'm usually when I show you these, this is a 1 minute time frame. So crack of the trend line here. 410, 415 entry. Whammy, 390, 390, 390. You can see why 390 is my first cover area. Upper shadow, lower shadow, kind of a sandwich right in here. That is my first area to cover. And you can see when we crack right through 390, we can go a little bit below that, which is great. So the next area, right around the VWAP and 380. Those are the next crucial areas to push through. So VWAP you're covering a little bit more, and then the crack of that, you can really tell when you crack the VWAP. Look what happens. You really, really start taking in some more profit. Again, you're just going over to the side here going, okay, 390. I've got to scale out some here. Probably right around this 380 area right here, upper shadow belt. Okay, 380 is going to see probably some support. Old resistance equals new support, right? So probably could see a bounce. Truly did off the VWAP here is just push back up to 405. But eventually, well, and then that was the next one. When we cracked the VWAP, we know, baby, we is golden for some more crackage. So again, go over here and go, okay, 390. Yep. 380-ish area. Yep. Crack a 380. And that's the VWAP now? Oh, yeah. So again, look at the chart and study the chart, and you're just literally looking over the side going, okay, well, here's what's going to bounce. Here's where it's not going to bounce. Here's where I'm still golden. Those type things. Again, last little shorting opportunity here, or a shorting example. And you can tell these aren't super severe steep trend lines. This is rather horizontal, right? You still get a great short out of it. You're filled. 620 area is the true crack, so you're probably not filled till 615 maybe, because I'm always going a little bit below. But you're golden, right, baby? Oh, you're golden, sweet child of mine. And here, where we're looking at, upper shadow, somewhere in between, okay, $6-ish down to about $5.90-ish. We'll give it $5.90 area. So $5.90 areas, you can see the close of these shadow. You know, some of them are a little bit lower, some are a little higher. Then we do get, you know, so $5.90-ish area. And then we got the 580 area. I mean, look at the lower shadow bounce. Okay, we're running into the 580 area and really can't push above it. So 5.9. 5.8. And look what happens when we actually crack these areas. 5.9, okay, bounced off of it. Look at that. Look at that bounce off of it. 5.8. Didn't get a bounce, but look what happens when we crack it. We go right down to the next area, which is what? These other lower shadows. So now we're down to 5.6. And that's all I'm doing, team. I'm just looking over to the left going on a short, or if I'm going long, looking over going, okay, I'm going to run into this, you know, say if it was long. You say if it bounced off the trend line here. Okay, I know I've got a little bit of VWAP resistance, but then I've got resistance here at 6.6, as you can see, really 6.6, then a little bit about the 6.8-ish area. And that's how I just determine my resistance and where these things are going to, now I'll say area because it could pop up to what? 685, could pop up, you know, when it was testing the 6.6 area, could pop up to 663. You know, that's why I say area, but I'm just going over to the left, studying the chart. Sometimes past history, I'm going to pull that up to the last year, last 3 years. Look at the daily chart, look at the intraday, combine those two together, and that's where I'm coming up with my price targets and my stop losses. Because essentially, those support areas, those resistance areas are going to come back into play again, and you just need to keep those in mind. So hopefully, this has helped you out on sticking and not only finding, you know, creating and finding, but sticking is the key thing, sticking to your stop loss once you've actually created and found them.